Welcome back guys, Jimmy Jules 153 with another Dreams Logic tutorial. Today we'll be going over some basic puppet animation with a more advanced example at the end. First of all, just a couple of quick things. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for the 1000 subscribers. When I started this channel out in February, there's no way I thought it would have grown this quickly, and it's all because of you guys, so really thank you all very much. Next is just a really quick update on what I've been doing since Early Access came out. I've made some huge improvements to Strike 4s. I'll detail the changes in the description if you're interested, but there's some big AI improvements, so it's a lot smarter now and it's a lot faster as well. I've also released a color mixing simulator, where different colored spheres breed and blend their colors together. They then emit a child sphere with an average color of the two parents, so it'll mix blue and red parents and create a purple child. It's all randomized, so it's interesting to see which color survives until the end. Finally, I've been making big progress on a new game I'll be releasing an early version of soon. Today though, we'll be making this puppet deal damage to the other puppet we've got on the screen here. You can see that when we punch the puppet, that it takes damage, and when it does take damage, it makes a noise. When we punch him enough, he'll die and respawn. We'll be covering a basic example of character animation today, and we'll go into some more advanced examples down the line. But I just wanted to say that the puppets are one of the more complex things to get working well. The first things I made didn't have any puppets in them. I concentrated on doing smaller things and getting them to work, because the puppets are just a lot of these small things all working together. If there's any advice I can give to people getting frustrated, it would be to start out basic. In the end, big levels are just lots of basic things all working together, so it's important to get those small things down pat before you try and do anything more complex. Okay, let's get stuck into this. If we head over to the puppet's logic, we've got everything just as the defaults, and we've added one microchip labeled punch. We've got the output from the square button hooked up to this. On this microchip is just a single timeline. This is a really basic example of a punch animation. If you wanted to make a more detailed one, you could add more keyframes. Generally though, just with 2 keyframes and some blending, you can get the effect you're after. For this example, we'll just be using 2 keyframes, one for the wind up for the punch and the other for the punch itself. You can see that when we select the first keyframe, it's got the puppet in the pose for winding up the punch. The second keyframe has the puppet's arm forward in the punching position. We've got the second keyframe turned on for longer than the first, so that the puppet holds its arm out and doesn't drop it back down immediately. We've also got the punch keyframe fading out slightly, as you can see from this line here, so that the puppet puts its arm down after the punch a little more gradually, rather than snapping it back down. There's also a blend between these keyframes to make the transition between the 2 poses slow at first, then speed up, just like the acceleration of a punch. You can zoom in on the keyframe and adjust the time that it'll be active on the timeline for by grabbing the side and dragging it forwards or back. With those 2 keyframes on our timeline, we've just got the timeline set to play once when the square button is pressed. We'll snap our timeline to the screen so we can see it in action. You can see that when we press the square button, the timeline plays through, and the character transitions between the 2 poses. Doing more complex animations would just be a matter of extending the timeline and adding in more keyframes with your poses. Now what if we wanted to make this punch do damage? We could add a health modifier to the puppet's hand, just like we have here. The health modifier is set to take away 20% of the player's health each time they get punched. I'll go through the ways you might stop a character from punching itself in a video soon. This one's just a little more basic, but I'll show you a more complex example, still using just 2 keyframes and some more logic alongside it. I've got a puppet here that I've added a couple of abilities to. This character has a force push ability with a charge up. The more it charges up, the more damage it does, and the more the player is forced away. The player casting the spell also takes a quick step backwards when it's cast, to make it feel like it's got a little more weight. That's all for this one guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one.